Welcome to I'm Not Afraid of Math Anymore, Math Foldables. In this lesson, we will look at algebra equations, and we will learn about equations and inequalities. The equations are on the outside of the foldable, and the inequalities are on the inside of the foldable. Our first problems have variables on one side. A variable is a letter that is representing an amount that we don't know yet. Our goal will be to solve the mystery of how much that variable is representing. On the left, we have an equation. 2x plus 5 equals 17. In order to solve the mystery of how much the x is representing, we need to get rid of the 2 and the plus 5. We will always get rid of the number that's added first. So we will subtract 5 from the left side, and we will do the same thing on the right side so that we can keep everything balanced, like the balance scale above. That will leave us 2x is equal to 12. Now the 2x means 2 times x. So to get rid of 2 that's been multiplied, we need to do the opposite and we need to divide. We'll make it look like a fraction in the second step and divide by the 2 by putting the 2 underneath. The 2's will cancel each other out and it will leave us with just the x. On the right side, 12 divided by 2 is 6. So x is equal to 6, and we've solved the mystery of how much that variable is representing. On the right side of our page, we have an inequality. Notice that the problem looks very similar. The biggest difference is the inequality symbol. 2x plus 5 is greater than 17. Notice also the balance scale. The left side is heavier or greater than the right side of the balance scale. Our first step will be to subtract 5 from both sides. That leaves us with 2x is greater than 12. Again, the 2x means 2 times x, so in this second step, we will divide by 2, leaving us with just x. Then 12 divided by 2 is 6, and our answer is x is greater than 6. We have another set of problems where we have variables on one side. The equation on the left this time is negative 2x plus 5 is equal to 17. Our first step will be the same, and that is to subtract 5 from both sides. That leaves us with negative 2x is equal to 12. We're getting closer to x being by itself since we have now gotten rid of the 5. Our second step will be to divide by the negative 2 that was in front of the x. The negative 2's cancel out and it leaves us with x. 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. On the right side of the page, we have an inequality, which is very similar to the equation that we just worked. Inequality means that it's not equal. And again, it is greater than. Negative 2x plus 5 is greater than 17. Our first step will be to subtract the 5. That leaves us with negative 2x is greater than 12. Negative 2x means negative 2 times x, and that's the last thing that we need to get rid of is the negative 2, so that x can be by itself. So again, we will divide by the negative 2. However, we will need to do something extra since we are dividing by a negative number, and that is to flip our inequality symbol. Right now it's greater than, and we need to flip it so that it will be less than. So now negative 2x divided by negative 2 is less than 12 divided by negative 2. Our negative 2's cancel. It leaves us with x. X is less than negative 6, since 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. We had to flip the sign because of the rules of multiplying and dividing with positive and negative numbers. If we had not flipped the sign, our x would not be correct. Our next problems have a squared variable. Our equation on the left is x squared plus 5 equals 14. Our first step is to subtract 5 on both sides. That leaves us with x squared is equal to 9. Our goal is to find out how much plain x is, not x squared. So in order to get to plain x, we need to do the square root of the x squared in the second step. If we're going to do the square root on the left side of the equal sign, we need to do the same thing on the right side of the equal sign. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 9 is 3. So we have solved this mystery. X is equal to 3. On the right side, we have an inequality. X squared plus 5 is less than 14. Our first step is to subtract 5 on both sides. We are left with x squared is less than 9. Again, our goal is to figure out how much x is. So we need to find the square root of x squared in the second step. And if we do that on the left side, we also need to do that on the right side. So we are left with x is less than 3. And we've solved the mystery again. X is less than 3. In these problems, we have variables on both sides, so we'll have an extra step at the beginning. Let's start with the equation on the left. 6x plus 5 is equal to 4x plus 17. Notice we have an x on the left side of the equal sign, and we have an x on the right side of the equal sign. Our goal is to get down to only one x so we can know how much that x is. So we need to get rid of the x on one of the sides. The best thing to do is to get rid of the 4x so we don't have to deal with any negative numbers. So we'll subtract 4x here on the right, and it will leave us with nothing. And then when we subtract 4x on the left, we are left with 2x. That brings us back to 2x plus 5 equals 17. Does that look familiar? I hope so. We just did that problem a little while ago. And our second step would be to subtract 5 on both sides. That leaves us with 2x being equal to 12. Then we will divide by 2, leaving us with x is equal to 6. On the right, we have a very similar problem, except that we have a greater than symbol instead of an equal sign. But we'll do all the steps exactly the same way. We will subtract the 4x on both sides. That will leave us with 2x plus 5 being greater than 17. And we will subtract the 5 on both sides. We'll have 2x is greater than 12. We will divide by 2 again, leaving us with x being greater than 6. In these problems, we won't be trying to solve the mystery of the number that x is, but instead we'll be showing how x is related to everything else in the problem. This is called solving for a particular variable. Let's start with the equation on the left. The original equation is s is equal to 10x plus y. Notice that s is by itself. Now rearrange to solve for x. We're going to subtract y from both sides to leave 10x by itself. We subtracted y on the right side, so we had to subtract y on the left side so that everything would still be equal and balanced. That leaves us with s minus y is equal to 10x. We almost have x completely by itself, but there's a 10 in front of it. That means 10 times x, so to get rid of 10 times x, we need to divide by 10. And if we divide by 10 on the right side, we also need to divide by 10 on the left side. That will leave us with our final answer of s minus y divided by 10 is equal to x. X is now by itself, and so we have solved for the x variable. We have the very same problem on the right side, except instead of having an equal sign, we have a less than sign. So we have s is less than 10x plus y. S is the variable that's by itself, but we are asked to rearrange to solve for x. So again, we will be subtracting y first of all, as we are working on getting x by itself. We always get rid of things that are added or subtracted first. Think of the multiplication as being more closely tied together. So now we are left with s minus y is less than 10x. And in order to get the x by itself, we need to divide by 10. Since we're doing that on the right side, we also need to do it on the left side. And that leaves us with our final answer of s minus y divided by 10 is less than x. And since x is by itself now, we have solved for the particular variable of x.